All right, I will call the Paulding County Industrial Building Authority's regular September meeting to order. Welcome our guests, and first item of business will be the approval of minutes from the August 19th meeting. You've received a copy of those. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Next item is reports and updates, and I'll go ahead and tell you that when we get down to the film industry training partnership, there is an agreement with the Paulding County School System. It's $75 for the use of Hiram High School. It was inadvertently left off of the agenda, but we will need to approve that with them to create our legal relationship for the use of their facility for the day, and it was blown by Tom and vetted by their attorney, Tom. Anyhow, we'll talk about that when we get to it, but just be aware that there will be an addition on that. Report from the West Georgia Joint Development Authority, Mr. Shipp.
About last Thursday the 27th, at the Person Center, interesting couple of developments. One, the county of Coweta has moved to our joint development. So that gives us a population of 683,000 people. Just joint development. Most of the business was surrounding the website, which is up and functional. It's greaterwestgeorgia.com. Pretty cool. List each of the counties, amenities in the counties, demographic information, list of major corporations. A page where a searching company can see available commercial properties in each county. And ultimately we'll have contact information back to all of the development authorities in the county.
All right, any questions, Mr. Shipp? Next is a report from the Paulding Chamber by Ms. Wright.
In October, we will have our State of the Cities address by Mayor Austin and Mayor Debbie. And our Prime of Life Expo is coming up October the 10th. We still have a few booths left for that. This expo will be held at the Wellstar Paulding Hospital, and it's geared to active adults 55 and older.
Hope y'all all have fun. I don't meet that requirement.
Right. You need to come and just see what you're going to get.
See what's in store.
Carolyn, you want to mention Mr. Kemp interviews today?
Yes, and yesterday at our Cobb BMC breakfast, we had Secretary of State Kemp there. It was a great breakfast, very informative about the election process, so enjoyed having him yesterday.
All right, any other questions for Carolyn? Report from Paulding Economic Development. I'm glad to welcome the new director, Robert Reynolds, for his report today.
Anywhere in particular you want me to stay here?
You're fine.
Just right here?
Yeah.
Good, okay. It's good to be here. Thank you for the welcome. It has been a warm welcome. It's good to be here. Everybody's, as I was telling Chairman Austin the other day, the staff of the county, everybody's just been extremely welcoming, outgoing, and very helpful. And that's what we've been up to really for the last couple of weeks I've been here, is trying to meet folks, get my hands around, really the status of things. And with Jamie's exit roughly 8-9 months ago, there's certainly a gap. We're trying to fill in things, such as the website, West Georgia Joint Development Authority. If you look at it today, there's not a lot of information on Paulding, but we're working on that. It was kind of funny. We had a conference call about that on a Thursday afternoon before the Monday holiday, and the website went live on Tuesday. And on Thursday afternoon, they gave me a list of things they wanted for us to have on the website. So it's not there yet, obviously, but we're getting there. Again, Yolanda's been a huge help, Blake as well. So we've got some great folks there that have really helped me get my hands around things that are available as we move forward. So putting the office back together is sort of a short answer to a long question of what I've been up to. I've met with some of our companies, getting an inventory of sites and buildings and things like that together as well. Other than that, we're plotting, you know, how do we move forward? How do we go forward and get Paulding to out to the world, to the attractive things that we have to offer, and getting our hands around that. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to working with the IBA to use that tool to help us move forward in the things we want to accomplish here. So our really first meeting is coming up in October. We had a meeting within a couple of days of me getting on the job, and that was really just introductory. So our first real meeting will be in October as we start talking about how to really launch out and move forward from this point forward. And then a lot of the elected officials had an impromptu meeting with one of the Dallas City Council just within the last day or two. So still putting a lot of faces with a lot of names. But everybody's been very gracious and very helpful so far. So thank you, really, to everybody in the room for helping me. That's more of a help than you ever know. Just getting to meet people in their role as everybody can be a cheerleader for Paulding County, and be getting to know those folks and the roles that everybody plays is really what we're trying to launch from right now. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. That's it so far.
So you're drinking out of a fire hose?
Trying to drink. Occasionally I'll take a little swallow, but the rest of it just keeps coming. Thank you.
And I want to underscore the importance of both our local economic development authority and the joint West Georgia Development Authority. If you've been paying attention to the news in the last few weeks, last week particularly, you'll see that the Atlanta Regional Commission has issued its report on the population growth of Metro Atlanta, which now includes Paulding as well as Carroll counties. It does not include Polk and Harrelson, but we have been, there's 16 or 17 counties in that total population district, as opposed to the 10 of the ARC. And by 2040, there will be 8 million people in that area. Right now, there's 5.5 million. So that tells you that it's almost going to grow by 50% in that time period, and we need to be braced with jobs for our people. We need to be actively engaged in transportation planning to move our people to and from the work centers. We need to be seeking companies that people can live, work, and play here and not have to go through the gauntlet of downtown, through the interstates to try to get to work everywhere. So we have a big challenge ahead of us that extends to natural resources and unattainment areas on air, and our struggle to get the reservoir approved to provide the drinking water resources for people to live and to work. So when we talk about economic development, we're actually doing something that in my lifetime had not been done as of 40 years ago, that people looked ahead and believed the numbers. And I think probably more of us understand now that those numbers are more realistic than what we may have presumed in the past. We saw phenomenal growth in the 90s and the early 2000s, and we see the turnaround now in the tax base and in the pickup in housing, and it's going to continue to grow ultimately into a megalopolis between Atlanta, Birmingham, Chattanooga. 8 million people is a daunting figure in just 25 years now. Really 24, I guess 2015 is about now. All right. We move then to Executive Director's report. Blake.
I wanted to start off with thanking Robert for coming today, and also wanted to mention, just for the board's perspective, I think Mayor Alston might be the only one who was here going back to the days prior to the Greater West Georgia Joint Development Authority. We actually were in a joint development authority with Douglas County, where Mr. Williams previously worked, and had a working relationship through that joint development authority with Douglas County. So we have worked together over an extended period of time, and very excited that he's here in Paulding, and very glad to be working with him again. First thing we have on the agenda here is the Atlanta Film Studio. You have the hold report in your backup documentation. There are a number of holds on here, but I wanted to kind of emphasize one thing that to me looks a little different on this hold report as previous hold reports. You've got several holds on here that are very long duration holds. You've got one with Visual Net, which runs from October to May, and one with Universal, which runs October to July. I think the longest single block of time we've had anyone in the studio has been about 3.5 to 4 months. So these are some very, very long duration leases. So I'm hopeful that we will land one of these long duration leases and not have to worry about getting somebody in there maybe until May or July of next year. That would be a very good thing. Spoke with Nick just yesterday. He feels very, very good about some of these and is working obviously very diligently to try to get one of these signed. Moving on to the film industry training, Mayor Alston alluded to the fact that we were doing this film industry training at Hiram High School. And in order for us to do it at Hiram High School, we have to have this agreement signed with the Board of Education. As far as the cost is concerned, the only thing we're paying for is just the custodial service, the cleaning. So it's going to be less than $100 for the cleaning. So the cost is really insignificant, but we do need to have the agreement signed in order to be able to utilize that facility. Also wanted to mention that we've got some advertising coming out for that training. It's been on our website, the Chamber's website, the county's website. It's been on Channel 23. It came out coming out in Dallas New Era tomorrow, I believe, today, tomorrow. Also, we're running it in the Marietta Journal because we feel like this is a good opportunity for us to bring people into Paulding County who may not otherwise have any reason to come out here. So pull a couple of folks in from Cobb County for that 2-day training, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Hopefully they'll come out here and buy their breakfast, their lunch, their gas, maybe buy some groceries on the way home. So in addition to it being a good training tool for our film industry, hopefully it can be a little bit of an economic development tool for our county as well. Moving on to corporate hangar. Don't know.
Let's go back. Do you need a motion on that?
Well, you can do it now, or you can do it at the end of the report. It's up to you.
Let's go ahead and you see it's $26.42 an hour for 3 hours. Is there a motion to approve the
So moved.
motion? Is there a second? Second by Mayor Debbie. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously.
Very good. All right, moving on to the corporate hangar. I mentioned earlier in the Airport Authority meeting that they're finishing up the floor, but I did want to also mention that the RFP, the request for proposal for lease of the hangar, has been advertised. It came out in the Dallas New Era, I believe it was last week, maybe the week before. Those proposals are due, I think, October the 2nd. So we are actively advertising that at this point and talking to a couple of different entities who are interested. So if you've had any leads of any kind on that hangar, please pass those along to me. I want to make sure that we get the request for proposal document out to them so that they can get that back in by October the 2nd. Then the last thing we've got on the agenda says Paulding Economic Development. That's a typo. That is my mistake, so I apologize for that. It should say Paulding Aerospace Alliance. I wanted to mention that the Paulding Aerospace Alliance is having a meeting tomorrow at noon over at the Economic Development Office. It'll be the first meeting that we've had since Robert's been hired, so it's really more of an educational meeting to introduce Robert and to introduce all of our Aerospace Alliance companies to Robert so that we can develop some relationships there. If any of you are interested in attending that, you're welcome to come. Just let me know if you would like to attend that meeting. And that is all I have under the report today.
All right. Any questions for Blake? We have a need for executive session for personnel, real estate, and litigation purposes. Is there a motion to go into executive session for that purpose, for those purposes?
I make a motion.
Have a motion by Mayor Debbie to enter executive session for personnel, real estate, litigation purposes. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gazzelli. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We'll return shortly. All right, is there a motion to go back into regular session, report that no action was taken in executive session? I have a move, is there a second?
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Is there any other business to be brought before the IBA at this time? Do I? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I would.
Have a motion, is there a second? Second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned.